That's my only feedback on the new agenda is that it's
Really show your years.
hard for an old man to read. Go ahead and call the December meeting of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee to order. We'll start with a roll call. I am Matt McGrath and I am here. Sean, you said was not going to be here?
Correct.
Melanie. We know you're there, Melanie.
I'm here, present.
Thanks. John.
Here.
Ben.
Here.
Ben, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Ron is not going to be here. Jay.
Present.
Awesome. City staff, usual suspects, our motley crew. No offense. Hey, can we do a round of introductions, like a little better introductions since we've got a new person here?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay. I didn't know if like we had to do informational items, but that would be silly to do it later.
Yeah.
So we'll just go ahead and do it now. Since we have a new member, stoked to have you here, Ben. Thanks for joining us and signing up. My name is Matt McGrath. I have been here on the PAC for 6 years. And I'm the next person, my term actually expired, and so I'm the next person to be replaced when we get another applicant, Martin. And I've been the chair since Brandon graduated to the Transportation Commission 3 or 4 years ago. I've been the chair. A very not difficult responsibility for folks to consider as I get ready to time out. We'll just work our way around.
Sure. We've met Chris Fair, transportation planner. We have worked together. Okay, great. Yeah, same story, but Carlton, good to see you. Welcome.
I'm John Day. I've been on this thing for, I don't know, a couple of years now. Yeah.
I'm Ben Nicholas. I am a transportation engineer. These guys a lot specialize on bike and pedestrian infrastructure. So it's close to my heart.
I'm Jay. I've been here about 6 months. And that's it.
Melanie.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I am the Deputy Director of the Ecological Restoration Institute. That's my day job, and I think I've been on the committee a little over a year now. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Open call to the public. Martin, any public comments for us today?
I forgot to print it out, but there was one public comment. Karen Mellis Clark sent an email and asked me to let the PAC know that the bridge, the little footbridge in Picture Canyon has been dedicated for Jack Welch. The council officially renamed it for Jack Welch. There's a really nice plaque that has been installed on a rock close to where the bridge is, and most recently, a piece of artwork has been placed on the bridge that kind of commemorates kind of our native history as well as Picture Canyon. So if you haven't been out there to see it, I'd highly recommend it. It's actually a good winter hike too.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Snow, yeah.
Yep. And one of the lowest traffic counters on any of the foot trails. Consistently, the one by the petroglyphs. Great. Thank you, Karen, for sharing that. Move on to approval of minutes. Martin, did you send all of these out today?
All of them, but the November meeting.
Okay. I knew you were testing me so that I thinking I would try to approve all 6 and we haven't gotten them. So we have the minutes from March, April, May, July, and October. Anybody?
Also, August is in there too. It's not listed on the
okay.
on that list, but there was a set of August minutes as well.
Okay. Anyone care to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minute.
Thank you. Jay, thank you. All in favor of batch approving 6 sets of minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous approval. Thank you. And moving now on to our action items and starting with mode share report.
Yeah, let me pull it up and share it for you. So this is a report that we originally prepared in conjunction with background data for the active transportation master plan. We've updated at least once since then. This is kind of the latest update. This update was timed to incorporate Metro Plan's trip diary survey, which they do every 6 years. So the results of that came out the end of last year, the beginning of this year. We've incorporated that information to produce this update. This is an action item. So in theory, the action would be to accept this and move it on to the Transportation Commission. I'd like to say it's completely done, but it's not. I haven't updated the text yet, but all the data is. But give me to switch greatness.
Yeah.
Small font tree.
That's better. So just in a nutshell, what mode share is just a measure of how people transport themselves, and it's typically divided by mode. So the biggest one typically is vehicle, private vehicle. And then the ones that we're more interested in are walking, biking, and transit. We'll see in a few slides here. The category of work from home has become fairly significant in the last couple of years for reasons that are obvious. You can think about it for a few moments. So what I'd like to do is, I think we've seen this, but it's been a couple of months. So just kind of do a quick refresher on the data, show you what we updated. And then, listen to your comments and conversations, and then you can decide if you want to see the report with all the text updated as well before you send it on to transportation. So let me, there's a quick way to scroll. It's not. Also, I'll just mention, one of the reasons that we prepare this is we have a series of what are called outcomes and indicators in the active transportation master plan. They're things that we're looking to measure our progress if we're making progress on the goals of that document. We also have a couple of hard targets related to mode share. The way they work is we want our walk, bike, transit mode share for all trips to increase from the current level, at least the 2022 level of 27% to 54% in 20 years. And that's you can see that math that doubles basically. And then for work trips, the mode share is currently 17%. And again, we would double it to 34% after 20 years. So this is preparing this report is our way of keeping track of how we're doing on those measures. So just in a nutshell, we use two sources of information to fill out this report. One of them I mentioned is the trip diary survey from Metro Plan. They've done it every 6 years, beginning in 2012. So the 2024 was the fourth one they did. So as a result, we're starting to see some trend data from that. That's a fairly comprehensive survey. They ask people to fill out a log of how they traveled for a random day during October. So if you walk to the bus, take the bus to work, walk downtown to lunch, ride your bike home, those are all trips. Take your car to the grocery store, those all count as trips. And in fact, if you, from your office, if you walk to lunch and walk back, that's 2 trips by walking. And that gives us, and it's a random survey, it's statistically significant, so that gives us kind of the best snapshot of how people are traveling. The other source of information that we use is from the census, and it's the American Community Survey. And they track what's called either journey to work or means of transportation to work. So it's a less complete data set in that it only accounts for people's work commute. But the advantage is that they do it every year. There's a lot of data, and we can use that data to compare ourselves to others, like other communities that are our peers. And they collect data every 5 years and every year. And all of them are samples, but again, they're statistically significant. We'll switch, keep going. So this is what the numbers look like over time. And I mentioned from the trip diary survey. So the green line is walking, the blue line is biking, and the red line is transit. And you can see the 4 years of data, 2006, 12, 18, and 24. For whatever reason, you can see that walking spiked in the last survey. I'm not sure that we can completely explain what happened. Undoubtedly, there were increases in the number of trips that were made by walking. I think they also changed how the data was collected. They went from having people write out sheets by hand to collecting the data electronically. So there may be a couple of reasons why we see that big spike. Biking and transit were a little bit more stable. You can see that biking actually has been declining, and we'll see that same trend reflected in other data as well. And the percentage of trips made by transit has been going up from 2.8 in 2006 to 8.2 in 2024. And if we look at it as a percentage of all trips, so what's in the gray is trips made by vehicle. The green, blue, and red are trips made by walking, biking, and transit. So again, because of the spike in trips made by walking, we saw a significant reduction in the number of trips made by vehicles. This is how the data looks from the American Community Survey or the census. These are 5-year rolling averages, but going all the way back to 2009, you can kind of track trends. Since 2018, walk share, which had been increasing more or less every year, has been declining. Again, we see biking has been more or less steadily declining, and transit has been a little bit up, a little bit down through the years. And then here's kind of the overall. So if you add up these 3 lines, this is what it would look like. And a couple pieces of information that are collected in the census that aren't reflected in the trip diary. There are 2 other categories. The gray, dark gray here is for other kinds of trips, which I think are like motorcycle, ferry boat, some things like that. And then the brown is what I mentioned before, working from home. So they count that as your trip to work is you work from home. So you don't make a trip, but you're still working from home. And you can see here the percentage has gone up. In fact, if we look at a chart, it's gone up a lot. I mean, from pre-pandemic, we were at 3.6% to 12%. The reason that that's important is that 12% of trips, or that increase in the number of trips where people are working from home significantly changes how travel patterns in Flagstaff. I mean, that makes a dent. That's noticeable. Of course, there's a counter argument that all the people who are working from home are now, run to the grocery store in the middle of the day or run errands. So there may not be a significant overall reduction in trips. This is the 1-year estimate, so they tend to be a little bit more spiky. The 5-year estimates take a period of 5 years, so they're a little bit more stable than these. The trip diary survey measures trips by geography. What that means is we look at the core area, so kind of downtown, NAU, the central area of Flagstaff. We consider the rest of the city, and we consider the rest of the region, which is all of the outlying communities like Donny Park and Belmont, Mountain Air, et cetera. And unsurprisingly, a significantly higher percentage of trips in the core area are made by walking, biking, and transit, to absolutely nobody's surprise. If we look at it over time, these lines represent a combination of walk, bike, and transit trips. And I think this is kind of an interesting trend, but you can see that in the core, which is this green line, the percentage of walk, bike, and transit trips has been going up over the years. The number of walk, bike, and transit trips in the rest of Flagstaff has essentially remained stable. And then the rest of the region, it's actually gone up fairly significantly. But the difference between these two trend lines, I think, is significant because whatever we're doing, whatever trends are happening out there, it's making it easier for people in the core of Flagstaff to walk, bike, and take transit. But that is not translating to the rest of Flagstaff, like kind of the more suburban areas. I think if we thought about it for a few minutes, we could come up with some reasons why that's the case. And it's probably worth thinking about that. Like, what are we doing in the core that's encouraging walk, bike, and transit trips? What are we not doing in the rest of Flagstaff that is not encouraging the same number of trips? Trip diary survey looks at NAU student trips. Again, not surprisingly, students make a lot of their trips, both to school and for all their trips by walk, bike, and transit. We can look at the trend line for that. They had, that they saw the same kind of spike. Walking trips, they also saw a pretty good spike in transit trips. And then again, the blue line bike trips are, for whatever reason, have been declining pretty consistently.
Martin, did Metro Plan folks crunching the data or wherever they had to do it, did they have any idea, any thoughts on that spike that we're seeing?
Yeah, I think if you go to the report, I think they have they list a couple of reasons why they thought that. And it's been a while since I looked at it. I just don't recall off the top of my head. But they did kind of go into that, like what they thought accounted for that. I'm going to go through the next couple of sections more quickly. Chapter 4 compares Flagstaff to the rest of Arizona and to the US. And we do much better on walking and biking trips. We do better than the rest of Arizona on transit trips, but not as good as the US as a whole. And then for combined walk, bike, transit, we're well ahead. For vehicle trips, we're a little bit less than Arizona and the US. And here, like the lower percentage is actually better, but fairly comparable. We compare it to Arizona cities, all cities of 40,000 people, so not something more comparable to ourselves. Walking, we are ahead of other cities in Arizona and well ahead of the average. For biking, we're actually behind Tempe, and this has been the case for a few years. For transit, we're also behind Tempe. And then overall, on the strength of our walk trips, we do better than other Arizona communities.
You guys met with Tempe?
Uh,
What they're doing and looking at their same graphics and seeing their growth over the years?
no, but that might be a nice winter trip to go down and meet with them. I mean, that's kind of we'll look at peer cities as well. That's kind of a follow-up. I mean, you can look at the communities that are doing really well and try to make an assessment of like, what is it about those communities that has allowed them to do that well, and can we replicate that? So chapter 5 is peer cities. There are 20 peer cities that we've considered. We try to get cities that are similar to us in terms of population and having a large public university. So here they are. They're all in the West. This is what they look like. And then again, because the census publishes this data for all communities, we can compare ourselves. So here's walk trips, all of our peer communities. The average is here, and then Flagstaff is shown in orange. So on walk trips, we're above average and kind of in the upper echelon of our peers. For bike trips, we're a little bit below average and in the bottom half of our peers. Then you can see what cities do really well, like Davis, of course, is famous for its bicycle infrastructure, Boulder as well. On transit, we're in the upper echelon and slightly above average. And I think if you look at these kind of overall, we're pretty midland compared to all of our peers. One interesting way to think about this is if we were able to do as well as our peers on each particular mode, Like, for example, if our walk share is currently 8.8, if we were able to do as well as Moscow at 17.6, and for biking as well as Davis at 12.0, where that would put our mode share, and it would skyrocket. Even if we could just hit the average of our peers, mode share would be significantly higher. And then this shows vehicle travel. Boulder is kind of significant here. 45.5% of their work commute trips are made by car. The only community that's less than 50%. And then if we look at kind of the overall chart, which includes working from home and other trips, you can see the size of this brown area in here. There's a lot of people in Boulder who work from home. That's what that means. But, I mean, that's a, kind of a separate phenomenon from what we talk about. But the fact that only 45.5% of work trips are made by car is significant for how, what the community is like and how they're able to plan things. For peers, we also look at these kind of arbitrary scores from walk score, bike score, and transit score. Again, these are published for all of our peers. We can do a comparison. Here's walk score. Flagstaff is at 39, below average, and in the lower half. Bike score, we're above average in the upper half, which directly flip-flops our actual numbers for whatever reason. This is people for bike city ratings. We're just above average, right in the middle. And then transit score is not available for all the cities. But you can see we actually do pretty well, like right below Boulder for transit score. So take that for what it's worth. It's just a way of comparing. The last thing we'll look at, which was new in the last time we updated this report, is looking at other demographic characteristics. And one of the reasons for doing this is that we want to make walking and biking and transit more appealing or available for all segments of the population. So we look at different segments of the population to see how it's performing. So we start with mode share by gender. This is reported by the census. You can see women are slightly more likely to walk to work, but less likely to bike to work, and less likely to take transit. And overall, less likely to use walking, biking, or transit. And then this last graph kind of shows it over time. So between 2016 and 2023, you can kind of see how trends go. The percentage of women who are walking to work has been declining. That kind of tracks with overall trends. The second demographic is race. And for the next group, data is not available for just Flagstaff. So we're looking at data for Coconino County. And one thing to keep in mind is when we consider all of Coconino County, there's a significant percentage of native population that lives outside of Flagstaff in Coconino County. And outside of Flagstaff, Coconino County is not generally a place that's conducive to walking and biking and taking transit. So that's going to be reflected in the numbers. So here, non-white populations are slightly less likely to walk, less likely to bicycle to work, and more likely to take transit. And then overall, the percentage is below walk, bike, transit mode share for the white population. Then again, you can see here the trends over time for all three of those modes. Poverty status, again, we're looking at all of Coconino County. Those below the poverty line are more likely to walk, more likely to bike, and more likely to take transit. And again, I think this is probably not a surprising result. This may confirm how we would think about those things. And then here you can see the data over time. So here you can see like the transit percentage has increased in the last couple of years. Last demographic is disability status, and this is individuals who identify as having a disability. And so they're more likely, those individuals are more likely to walk, more likely to bike, and more likely to take transit as well. And you can see here the demographics or the trends over time. So that's the last page of the report. Again, we need to finish the actual text. There's not really much text that goes with it, but it needs to match the data. But I'll throw it open to questions, comments.
Can transit data include paratransit or just fixed route?
I don't know the answer
Because
to
I'm
that.
wondering if that would skew, folks with disabilities as far as their utilization of transit. That seems to be a bit of a gray area there.
I'm guessing it does, but we'll take a look at that data and see that if you look at like transit is broken out by a number of different types of transit, and I bet it's under one of those. Other questions, comments, thoughts?
Have any way to capture scooters? So like that might be like what biking trend is downwards.
I know we looked last month at crash data. And the crash report is being updated to include a checkbox for scooters. So we can, in the past, scooters have been counted as pedestrians. Moving forward, the crash data will separate scooters out. I'm not sure about the census. I feel like the census changes more slowly than other sources of data. We'll look, it may get counted under other. We can do a search. I imagine this question has come up for tracking purposes.
Interested in topographical overlays of each other town that's involved in ratings. Just because we have a hill north-south and east-west. That is kind of preventative for a lot of people hopping on a bike. Like over Buffalo Park or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a factor of like why one
I mean,
community might do better. And
Milton's a huge factor.
yeah,
Just, I know a lot of those cities you mentioned, I've been to a lot of those cities, and just bike lane width and just separation is for me why I feel safer in a place and or commute more. That could be a big component. It's like Boulder's just like massive shoulder, big bike lane, big car lane. And I mean, Denver's not in that. San Luis Obispo, Bozeman's like that, just sprawl.
As scooters, electrified scooters and electrified bikes gain popularity, I think that there's a relationship with topography, like you were bringing up, and how many people who are interested but don't feel able to ride a bike across the city. I think that there will likely be an observable relationship there, especially in places like Flagstaff, which are hilly. Be interesting to look at other cities that are defined as, hilly or mountainous in the way that we are.
So Martin, the report is just the stats, basically. There's no,
yeah, the text
that
doesn't
sit there and crunch like some conclusions or anything like that that's in there.
There's not much, but it just reports in the stats. Yeah.
Questions or comments about the move share data?
Then before we leave it, just decide, do you want to hold it over to the next meeting and have a more complete report with the text updated? I think the next Transportation Commission is in February, so if we brought it up at the January meeting, there's still an opportunity to forward it and have it available for their February meeting.
I would suggest that unless anybody has any strong objections and wants to push it forward now. If you could just send that out to us. You guys know, before the meeting sometime and just spin through, it would be great.
Is that like a voting item, Martin, or can we just move on with what Matt suggested? Since this is an action item.
I don't know if if you need to take a vote on that. or
Yeah,
not.
we need a vote
You
to
could
move it to next month.
to table it to next month.
Okay.
Probably be safe.
Okay.
We've never dug this deep into Robert's rules of.
Yeah. Down. Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
The table.
Thanks, Ben. Okay. Thanks, Jay. All in favor of a motion to table this until next agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thanks, Melanie. Any opposed? No, passes unanimously.
All right, we'll see you.
Everybody. Appreciate the preview though, that's good information. Moving on to discussion items, capital planning, pedestrian and bicycle projects. Always a crowd pleaser.
All right, I don't know, did we go into much detail in the last couple of meetings? Not very much.
So.
I've got this information kind of at two different places. One is just this list. It's up there now. The second one is a map. I think it's going to be a little bit challenging to flip back and forth. So I may just try to go quickly through the list, and then we can take a look at the map.
Okay.
And talk about, that's probably not an ideal way to do it, but that might be less distracting than trying to flip back and forth. So again, just by way of background, every year the city updates its 5-year capital program. Capital program covers all of the projects that the city builds, from roads to foot trails to sewer lines to water tanks. The 5-year capital program is a way for us to plan for the future. It covers a period of 5 years, and actually behind the scenes, we're planning out for 10 years and 20 years in a lot of cases. Anything that we request in the first year of the capital plan that's approved by council is then budgeted, so there's money available. Years 2 through 5 are kind of illustrative, but presumably what's in year 2 and this year's capital plan would be budgeted in next year's capital plan. So it does never quite work out that neatly, but that's the idea. What it allows us to do for the city is to kind of plan out what we have, what projects we need to build or want to build, and plan that against the revenues that we have coming in for those projects. What it does for the public or for the community is it gives them an idea of what's planned and when. So there's some transparency. I know the council, for example, when they review this, they always want to see what projects are planned. They want to see some rationale, like how were these projects originally planned? What was the public engagement? How did you come to pick these projects as priorities over other projects? And they do give us a lot of leeway in how those processes are done, but they want to see that level of kind of thought has gone into it. So for our purposes, this will come up in more detail next year, but we like to have a little bit of a process ahead of time before kind of the more accounting formal process next year to make sure that the pedestrian committee and the bicycle committee have had a chance to review these and are familiar with them at least. We've done this for a number of years. All these projects were originally came from the ATMP So from year to year, there's not really a lot of difference in the projects that we talk about. As we build projects, we can add new projects onto the tail end. But generally, there's a good amount of consistency from year to year. So we'll go through these. We always have a couple of general categories. Planning and programming pays for some staff salaries. Project pre-design was new a couple of years ago, but we use it to develop concept plans when that's helpful for moving a project from being planned to being an actual project that's in design and under construction. The Vision Zero plan is something that's been in the budget. We're using that money to serve as the match for the Safe Streets Master Plan. So I think the city had $500,000 budgeted between this plan and a transportation master plan. That $500,000 is being translated into $2.5 million for the Safe Streets Master Plan. So that's leveraging. Moving on to categories, we have one for foots. Foot signing and general improvements and enhancements are kind of annual amounts. The projects that we want to work on for next year, to the point of getting them through design and into construction, are Mountain View Hoskins, which is really a trail connection between Lone Tree Road and NAU. We'll see it on the map. Sinclair Ridge is a trail connection to DeMiguel School. Sawmill Trail is a trail connection from Elara, or the Sawmill District, down to Sinclair Wash. And Southwest Crossing is a trail behind Staples that is going to be rebuilt in conjunction with City Park that's planned. I won't go through all the ones in 2 through 5. We are going to include a budget amount for the Mount Eldon Base Trail, equivalent amount to pay for making access trails from the city out to that trail. I don't think we have that one mapped, but I know we've talked about it before. It's a Forest Service grant-funded project. The city can participate to the extent that we're helping to connect to that trail. The trail is within city limits. It serves a commuter function. So it benefits our system, but we can look at funding those access points to make sure that trail is well integrated into the community. I mentioned before, we have an amount for project pre-design. We're trying to kind of plan that more carefully in terms of what projects we want to look at for pre-design. So we'll see these on the map, but these are some of the trails that we're looking at. And again, the idea is that we can get a little bit of, if we get an engineer to put pencil to paper, it helps move that project forward towards construction. Single track trails, we can look at these on the map. These have been in the budget and the capital plan for a couple of years. Sidewalks, we'll continue to work on sidewalk infill. Huntington Fanning, most of the sidewalks have been built. There's one piece at the corner that's left that we need to budget for and pay for. And this is how to describe it. It's the industrial area on Huntington. Because of the food bank and the shelter located kind of back in that industrial area, these new sidewalks get a lot of use. Before, people were walking in the streets and having to kind of compete with truck traffic and industrial traffic. Forest Meadows, Highland Mesa was a first mile, last mile project. We won't have money in first mile, last mile to fund that. So we want to bring other capital funding for it. San Francisco and Schweitzer Canyon are kind of little infill pieces that will be funded through first mile, last mile. We have a transportation alternative grant for Fort Valley Road. So we're looking at including some money in an out year to fund a follow-up grant for construction. And then there's a couple of projects for in out years in the capital plan. For bikeways, we've been working on striping. That program needs a little bit of work. Generally, we've been identifying striping that can be included with road projects. So like when a road is redone, we may redo the striping. We've done that on Cedar and on Huntington, and there are probably a couple other ones that I'm forgetting about, but Lynch, yep, that's a good one. So we've either added bike lanes or added a buffer to a bike lane. We have a handful that we want to do planning for. Again, to kind of see how things are going to work with the idea of moving them forward. And then a couple of general categories that are more community-wide. Bikeway signage has been discussed at the Bike Advisory Committee as being kind of important to pull the overall system together. Bike boulevards and bike parking are typically things we ask for money, but it will require us to do a little bit more work to identify how we want to spend that money. Enhanced crossings, these are at grade, but they typically have either a red flashing or amber flashing. The two we want to work on first are Humphreys at Fine to support really student access to Flag High. And then Lake Mary Road at Wallapai is another one that we have started design for, so it's far enough along that we can think about building it next year. We have a handful of first mile, last mile projects along Fort Valley and Solier. I think we've seen these before. And then we've got a couple of crossings in Outyears. I know Woodlands Village at Sinclair Wash comes up a lot. We just need to do a little bit more planning work for that to figure out how a crossing would work. Grade separated crossings, we're actually not planning any as part of the capital program, but a number of them are being either planned or built as part of other projects. And we'll wait to see the map to kind of go through those in more detail.
You're gonna go through the map on those?
Yeah. I think that would be easier. And then the last category is, as we've been kind of planning these things, you can see that we've got this divided into crossings and bike lanes and foot trails. And there are some corridors where we have like all of those things all at once. And it feels beneficial to go through the whole corridor and figure out how all that stuff works together. And just call it a complete street and plan it and fund it that way. So we've got a handful of those. Those are on the map as well. But again, this is part of our effort to be more specific about what we want to work on, including kind of the planning end of it or the concept planning end of it over the next 5 years. So I'm gonna close that. Any questions before we go to the map and about this stuff?
Is there anything to be said about moving stuff around on that discussion of priorities, or is it kind of just set in stone?
This is this is what we can talk about that.
I'm just gonna say Milton Bikeway should be top priority of that planning. I think the sooner the better, and you will see numbers of cycling and pedestrian use go up from your report earlier. That is suicidal.
Hey, Chris, you can elaborate, but we have a pending grant that we're waiting to hear from that would give us money to study that one.
Yeah, that's just saying like planning, if there's a pool of like, where should we plan it?
Yeah, no, Martha's done a lot of work to come up with solid recommendations. It's a very complicated area to try and punch a bikeway through. There's a lot of private property, different, NAU, ADOT, a lot of complicated moving parts, but with the major projects that are coming up through Rio de Flag making, which will allow us to have our underpass of Route 66 and the BNSF, and then tracking through the Humphreys RFB of Butler Avenue, along DuPont, heading south towards campus, an idea is to use the new pedestrian underpass of Milton Road to get to the other side, and now you're on the separated bikeways that have been built that go south. So building on a lot of projects, the pieces are kind of coming together, but yeah, you're right. Concept planning of the overall idea is very interesting to us.
And we have a bunch of projects that are listed as we're going to do concept plans or corridor plans for them. And those really haven't been prioritized in terms of which one we would do next. And I think would be like a good step. So your feedback on that is helpful. to help us figure out. Because we can't do them all at once, so they're gonna have to be like phased over the next 5 years. So which ones are most important to work on first?
I think if your goal is ridership, a north-south vein, that is the most popular north-south vein for vehicles. And pedestrian walking, that's the one.
That's the only north-south that doesn't have a big hill on it.
Yeah, east-west would be north of Buffalo Park and paving it versus like doing your gravel futs, in my mind. That was like a solvable issue. That's also private property and your.
Elephant in the room, the east curb on 4th Street and the north southbound traffic. I know that that has a lot to do with private property ownership and whatnot, but that discontinuity is, causes a lot of, transportation choice limitations and also safety issues.
Yeah, you're talking about the missing sidewalks on the
4th Street,
4th Street.
yeah, on the east side.
Yeah. That one's an interesting one, really, because we've had it in the capital plan for a number of years, but just haven't gotten to moving it over to a project because of the private property issues. We need to acquire a right of way. We made a run at this a couple of years ago and we're not successful. We have it listed here. I think the sidewalks are still in the capital program. We also have it listed as kind of a corridor study. Because one thing that would free up everything on 4th Street is if it didn't need to have 4 lanes or 5 lanes, really, for its entire length.
Right.
That would give us all kinds of room for crossings, bike lanes, better bike lanes, and those sidewalks. The catch is, like, we really need sidewalks now. And anytime we go to like a corridor study or a planning study, we're adding time before we get to that construction. But we have to kind of decide what's worthwhile in that case. Is it worth spending a little bit of time to potentially get a better result? Or should we, just fix the sidewalks, build the sidewalks? So it's kind of a short-term project. Ultimately, I think the council may have to decide, do they want to do condemnation to acquire that right of way for the sidewalks? Because that would move it forward. I mean, there's even a possibility that if we could build the sidewalks, they could exist for a while. It doesn't preclude us from doing something more comprehensive along the corridor at a future date. But in the meantime, for however many years that takes, we would have those sidewalks.
Are you suggesting if we were to narrow down the actual car lanes that we could bypass some of those private property issues instead of focusing on the sidewalks for now? Or are you saying, curious on that?
We can be clear. The lanes are about as narrow as they're going to get. So the only options are removing lanes at this point. You can think about removing the 2-way left turn lane would open up space, but there's trade-offs. Or narrowing it to 3 lanes total, so 1 lane in each direction. Generally just my thought is that from 7th Street north, traffic doesn't necessarily require 4 lanes. From 7th Street south, it's probably, more closely aligned with 4 lanes. So there are a couple of options, but narrowing lanes is probably not one of them. I think they're all the lanes in that road are under 11 feet, like closer to 10 feet.
Councilmember Spence?
Just picking up on these ideas, I'm agreeing with the overall concept that we need to make improvements in a coordinated way and really get to our ultimate goal, which is improved pedestrian and bicycling street. So we're this evening in our pedestrian advisory committee, we have our bicycle advisory committee feed into the transportation committee, or transportation commission, which feeds into the council. What if these 2 committees, PEDS and bikes, got up in arms and started more activism. I mean, I've been to meetings here for 10 months and we discuss things, we forward them. Once in a while, we forward things on to Transportation Commission and they finger tap it or twiddle or something. What if this committee and the bicycle committee got really aggressive, angry, flag waving, protesting? Martin, do we have to go through the Transportation Commission, or could these two committees go to council waving flags and saying 4th Street, Milton, whatever we want to choose as our primary objective, go directly to the council?
I think just procedurally, because we are subcommittees, like we'll always have to go through the Transportation Commission.
Okay.
Before something is submitted to council.
So given that, what if the two committees join forces, come in waving flags and carrying swords and ask the Transportation Commission to do something radical like 4th Street, since we can't buy the private property, change the traffic lanes, change the mode of thinking from cars to bicycle and peds. Or if we want to tackle Milton first, to do both Milton and 4th might be a little too much for the Transportation Commission to stomach. But if we chose one of those two streets and said, we're up in arms.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I hear you talking about is how we get information to the council, who ultimately decides to approve the budget in a more specific way. So after we go through this internal process, we'll submit all of our numbers and we'll go through a formal process. Like the council will have a retreat in April, for example, to review all these things. And we will send them a long list of, long spreadsheet with a lot of numbers on it that show which projects we want to build and which ones we want to build first, et cetera. But that does not have the same oomph as some of the methodologies that you're talking about in terms of expressing the committee's thoughts and feelings about the importance or the urgency of some of these projects. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think if we're submitting comments or suggestions, they would go to the Transportation Commission. I've gone before the city council, just in a public comment period on any of these, and I've said, hey, I'm Matt, I'm from the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, I'm speaking for myself, and gone that way. And all of us, both peds and bikes, are able to do that and strongly encourage. And I think that's a great opportunity, is what you're describing, council members, to go after or while the council is considering around the time of the budget retreat, considering the plans here. But I think a first good step is working with the Transportation Commission. I do agree, working with the Bike Advisory Committee. We've done some joint letters before on stuff like this in the past. But then definitely go into the council and nothing, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, probably nothing is more valuable than somebody standing in front of you, telling you what they think, rather than just submitting a comment or a letter.
Right. Well, this whole list doesn't have 4th Street, doesn't have Milton on it as in the 2 to 5 year, certainly not in the next year and not in the 2 to 5 year, to do radical changes on Milton or 4th. I can see ourselves 5 years from now and nothing's changed on 4th. Maybe we get some sidewalks. That'd be cheap enough, but not a protected bike lane. And on Milton, I don't know what the answer is, but I'll shut up. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
In 5 years, the cinders on 4th Street will still be the same.
We have Melanie online has a comment.
Oh, thanks. Melanie.
Yeah, thanks. I was just listening to the conversation and it's interesting just to reflect on what, your role is as a member of one of these committees and hearing from council member that it might be beneficial to get a little more active participation. I think that's what I'm hearing on what the biggest needs are. I wonder if there's something a little bit in between, to like big advocacy push and like just kind of listening and getting reports where yeah like the letters and comments, but maybe we have a more coordinated ask of some kind. And I think that's what I'm hearing about Milton and Fourth. And I would love, like, if we were going to engage in that, I would love further conversation on whether those two streets or like what is the ask exactly, are those the best places to go? I mean, like, for example, I've seen in other cities that have great bike infrastructure that the primary car corridors are not also the primary bike and pedestrian corridors, right? Sometimes they're slightly set off from that, but they get you in the same general direction. So I'd just be curious to have further discussion about this list of priorities and what's really the solution to these bigger issues. And then maybe that leads to more of a vision from the committees. But it might take a little work to get there. So yeah, I think it's a really good idea and be something worthwhile doing.
Thanks, Melanie.
So what we can do is we can think about in January, February, even March, kind of meeting timeframe is working through, what the committee's thoughts are and probably expressing it in a letter or something that goes through transportation, but is ultimately delivered to council to put kind of your personal stamp on what projects are important, why, and to impart a sense of urgency or need for those projects in a way that just forwarding the capital plan as a spreadsheet or a series of numbers doesn't capture. Is that a fair way to look at it? So we'll have work to do through January and February. Again, thinking of the April council retreat, you can kind of think about that as a time frame. Transportation Commission meets in February, and then again in April. That timing may work out, like there may be one Transportation Commission meeting in April before the council retreat at the middle of April. That's kind of the timing of it. Okay, so just in general, what you can look at with this map is here this category is sidewalks. So existing sidewalks that are missing sidewalks by priority, and then what our capital plan looks like. And in this color scheme, dark red is first year. So again, it would be budgeted, something we want to build next year. Years 2 to 5. So in the capital plan, a little further out, we have a category of infill sidewalks, which are really short sections that is just funded every year. And it just requires us to kind of put plans together and get them either to Public Works or to another contractor. Orange, in this case, is missing sidewalks that are being added as part of development. Blue added as part of roadway projects. So the big one here is Butler Fourth. And then purple, I'm not sure if we have any sidewalks, but it would be part of another capital project. For example, the downtown mile or the Rio to Flag. Like in this case, I guess we have one. This one's along Highland Mesa, and it would be adjacent to the West Side Park. So as part of that park, they may complete that sidewalk. So we can look at, Foots Trails will have the same kind of categories. I believe there was an interest in looking at grade separated crossings.
really interested, when is the train crossing at Old Town Spring happening?
That is shown,
Talked about for years, when is it happening?
do you mean, here's Old Town Springs.
Yeah, the underpass.
Yeah, this underpass.
Yeah, when is that going down?
It's being, I cannot tell you for sure, but it's being planned as part of, the downtown mile. We're just reviewing kind of, like 60 or 90% plans for it. So it's moving along. I don't know I don't know the construction schedule offhand.
Is this like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Not 10 or 20. 2 years at the fastest, maybe somewhere between 2 and 5. So all these in purple represent underpasses that are part of the downtown mile. Florence Walnut, the 2 downtown under 66 and the train tracks. And this represents where 66 goes under the train tracks. There'll be separated bike lanes and sidewalks built as part of that. There are sidewalks there now, but no bike lanes. And the sidewalks are fairly narrow.
Is there an underpass under 66?
Well, I mean, yeah, 66 goes under
No,
the
north.
train tracks.
Oh,
Here?
yeah.
There is. When they built the bridge, they included kind of room for an underpass. The trick to this one is it's waiting for the Rio project to get built. Like it doesn't really stand alone.
There's gonna be an underpass from downtown to that one bench park. I don't even think that is a bench anymore.
Yeah, Colton
Under the
Colton Park,
tracks
yep,
to your transit center.
yep.
There's people already using
Using
that
it.
area, because I see now that the DCC is like elevated above the tracks, my window looks right out at that, and I'm like, where are these people coming from? And someone shared with me that that's there, and I'm like, I've lived here 20 years and never knew that was a thoroughfare that you could.
I don't recommend it.
What is it? Can you explain it?
I have not physically seen it, but it is in that same location where people will cross underneath and then all of a sudden they appear
Right here.
right there on top of the tracks, and we're all like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
So you can pop out from this building essentially
Mhm.
and go under 66 and pop out of the tracks.
Yes,
That's
I
awesome.
have not checked it
Check
out.
that out.
Too scared.
A lot of good reasons to be scared.
Yeah.
Jay, just to
Not that bad.
continue that line of thought, to the north, you immediately get onto the Karen Cooper Trail, which will take you clear out Highway 180. So that is gonna be
Your trail is a trail that you're working on?
no, that exists. So it's as far as completing like a really good north to south idea, the existing Karen Cooper with the proposed Milton Bikeway, which uses all the connections we've just been talking about. That's your really good ped bike access.
Wait, what trail is this? Cause we're right here. What trail are you talking about?
So Karen Cooper right now starts.
Oh, you're saying that like sketchy, sometimes questionable through downtown. Yeah, I got you. And then you have to cross the puddle into the duck pond because there's no bridge there and there should be the Martin Ince Bridge in commemoration, retired. Get your bridge there.
Maybe why. It's a possibility.
I got you.
So this dash line shows Karen Cooper would be extended. Use those 2 underpasses to get you to Phoenix, basically.
Back to that really quickly. I would imagine if you, and I'm in agreement with you, like I use that all the time. If these were more maintained trails and paved and awesome, your ridership and walking ship would go up considerably.
Well, again, a lot of this depends on, relies on the Rio to Flag project. When that happens, this trail gets extended, this underpass gets built, and this trail gets paved. At least out to Benito, possibly to over to here in the section that you talked about that always stays wet, gets realigned up onto the hillside. So great plans, but we just have to rely on the Rio to move forward, which is a thing. All right, these in blue, these are part of the Lone Tree Overpass. In blue over here are improvements made at the interchange under I-40. So we count those as grade separations as well, when like Butler goes under I-40. You're next to a road, it's not just a foot trail, but there's a chance for us to make better bike and ped facilities. And then here at Butler and Fourth, this shows the planned underpass that will be part of that roundabout. On the private side, we are working with developers to build tunnels under future roadways, generally along this trail corridor. So like this one's under John Wesley Powell, this one's under an extension of 4th Street. This one's under a new road that's being built to kind of replace Lone Tree Road. This is along John Wesley Powell, and it would be built where the Rio is as part of John Wesley Powell.
Timeline on that.
I think Paul's online. I think it's coming up pretty quickly. I mean, they're working through plans. Do you know, Paul, do you know when the John Wesley Powell is scheduled for construction?
All right, sorry, I had to get off of mute. It's a 3-part project with Pine Canyon developer. The city's doing the middle section and Canyon Del Rio is doing the other section. And we're at about 60% design, so construction starting late, maybe summer, fall 2026, finishing up sometime in 2028.
Thank you, Paul.
Full connection from JWP to Fourth.
Yeah. So I will say, we've been talking about a bunch of these projects for a while. They are moving forward. They are closer to getting constructed than we have ever seen. And I know we have begged for your patience for a long time, but it's about to pay off in the next 10 years. The last thing I'll show you is kind of what we were thinking for corridors. This is Fort Valley Road. So we have a transportation alternative grants to study bike shoulders, missing sidewalks, and crossings along that whole stretch. This is Cedar and 6th. We have a grant that's looking at safe routes to school, including those 2 corridors. This is 4th Street that we talked about. 7th is a little bit simpler than 4th Street, but we could include it as part of that corridor. Steves and Lakin, we really wanted to add sidewalks and bike lanes, but it quickly became kind of complicated. So we want to just take a step back and figure out what's the best, what are our options for adding bike lanes and sidewalks and possibly crossings in that small area. Country Club. Lone Tree Road is going to be part of a road, kind of an update of a road corridor, but we can look at, again, our foot trails, what we want for bikeways and crossings. And then Lake Murray Road was similar to Steve's Lakin. We started planning for where sidewalks are missing, where we want foot trails, where we want crossings, and it got a little bit too complicated to work through quickly. But I think if we took a few moments and thought about it as kind of a complete streets and a complete corridor, that we could come up with some ideas and work through those technical issues.
Can you click on bikeways? There's a lot of overlap and interest here, I think. Just like to see what's in there.
So we have a handful. This one is Milton. I don't know if there's a way to like highlight that, but we have thoughts about a bikeway that would essentially parallel Milton, but not be on Milton. All the way from where we just looked at, where Karen Cooper comes out at Phoenix, all the way down to Lake Mary Road. And we have thoughts about what we might do in each one of those segments to make either a foot trail or protected bike lanes or cycle track off to one side, some version of a protected bikeway for that whole length. Some parts are easier than others, some parts are more expensive. It can be done in phases. You know, you can do like a part of it and it would stand alone. We're thinking of the entirety of it, just getting some engineering done for it.
What's this street? What street is this where they intersect?
Our original plan is that this would be a foot trail that would go over Milton. I think what Chris referenced earlier is we now have an underpass on Milton by University. So can we use that? Can we realign this to use that underpass? The answer is yes, but you have to figure out how to get through the Target parking lot.
That's the thing. That's
Right.
why we always go back and forth.
To Target.
And you missed Wendy's.
Dr. Spence is absolutely correct. All problems are solvable with time and money.
But what we think about is utilizing, right, like, could we convince people who want to use this path to route behind Target in the spirit of getting of your north-south connection? We go back and forth talking about that a lot.
That's a hill though, right?
Sorry?
Getting back in there, is there?
It's,
It's right here. There's kind of a grade change between
yeah,
the end of that cul-de-sac between the Target parking lot and
weird and ranch. sort of.
Sprouts parking lot.
What's behind the Wendy's? Why not go north and then over? Wendy's, McDonald's, stay on that west side. Anyway. It's just quiet over there as well.
At some point you have to cross.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get here, it actually works out pretty well on Reardon Ranch. NAU has long had plans for a roadway that goes through here.
Hey.
We have had them half convinced it could be a foot trail as well. This could be an overpass. It's a lot, but it's one can imagine that it might someday be feasible.
Especially when it's anchored by something that just got opened, like the Beulah University roundabout. And the facilities that extend to the south from there, especially.
Okay, other thoughts? I don't really have anything else to present. If you want to, and it's great conversation. I think like you guys talking through this helps us get a better idea of sort of where things are, where you are, what our priorities, what seems useful. Oh, did I talk about the other ones? This is on McConnell. Really getting into campus. That like thousands of students get to campus through here every day on facilities that are less than ideal, let's say. This is Santa Fe. So really what this facilitates is everybody coming from the west. How do you get into NAU or downtown or the central area without being on Route 66?
No pond.
We're going through Mill Pond.
They have.
No. You go to the playground and there is a 12x2 sketchy bridge across the wash and it's amazing. Best.
12 feet wide and 2 feet long, or the other way?
No, I'm gonna put a pallet over there. That's gonna be my right step.
This one connects from the North 89 trail to the Route 66 trail through kind of stuff on all the stuff in the west side of Highway 89. And what it does is all the neighborhoods out here could use a foots trail and a foots trail. And we just have to get them through this area, which is congested.
Mhm. It's a big gap.
It's a big gap.
Yeah.
So again, this is a little bit complicated, so we want to do a little bit of work to, have preliminary engineering done just to see what we need, what's feasible. Is it acquisition? Is it just construction? This is all Lynch. We just put bike lanes on Lynch, so part of that is there. This little connection over to the foots trail, or I'll turn the foots trail on. Just put a curb ramp here so you can kind of do that. So we've implemented two critical pieces of that bikeway. Still a lot to go, but. So those are the bikeway corridors. We're gonna look at it in more detail.
A quick recommendation for folks that I don't know if it was on here, it's that single track path from the hill climbing up Cedar, up and over Forest, and needing to connect to the top of Buffalo Park. Is there any way to punch that and actually make that a 48-inch wide anything? So imagine you're climbing up the hill going from east to west. And instead of having to wrap around and then go into Buffalo Park, you do this potentially washed out single track connector. That'd be such an easy punch through when you do it, then you connect to the futs on the other side.
Like here?
You're saying where the old road alignment used to be?
Yeah, exactly, right there. Yes, there is a single track connector that takes you to the parking lot, and it's in varying degrees of being too hard to climb, and or someone's worked on it that is doing that. And if you did that and cut it in a way, paved it maybe, it would connect right over to the ice rink, and it's a really nice way to then drop into downtown through that neighborhood. But rather than having to go around and stay on this sidewalk, because again, back to Melanie, it's like usually the best way is not to be on traffic. That's why I don't like biking along 66. It's like, it is a decent path, but it's just like train traffic. So you just hop on that, and then you've got a nicer, no traffic commute on the other side of North Hospital. But it's there, it just needs to be enhanced.
Bike advisory committees had a lot of discussion about what to do about this corridor. And it's challenging. There aren't any easy fixes. Beginning with the bike lanes on the road or paving this trail. And I don't think we came to any grand conclusions about what the answer was. We can certainly reopen that and kind of figure out what's the best way, what's the most expedient way of getting through here.
If you made it easy to pass that,
yeah,
that's so safe and nice to get on top of that hill through the Buffalo Park parking lot and down the other side to the Frisbee golf course. The hill though.
Okay, other thoughts? This will come back. We'll have more discussion about it.
On that, so PAC folks, it was a discussion item this month. Do we want to move it up to an action item for January? For potentially like voting to send something to the Transportation Commission recommendations for their February meeting? Talked about kind of priorities, that would be an opportunity. And if we didn't want to send anything, we wouldn't have to, but we need to have it as an action item if we want to potentially vote on something. And like that could be Matt, write a letter, or Matt, have Kristen Carlton, have you write a letter to submit to the Transportation Commission, something like that. Okay. Can we have that as a action item?
Yep.
Great. Thanks, everybody. That was
Guys,
good.
I support that.
Thanks, Melanie. Moving on to the next discussion item, PAC meeting dates, 2026.
I think they were included in your packet.
They were, yeah.
So just take a quick look at them. See if anything jumps out in the way of conflicts or things that we need to think about. Let me pull it up for you. So we meet the fourth Thursday. So every year from here till eternity, we're gonna have a conflict with Thanksgiving by definition. Last year, we moved it a week ahead and had a combined meeting with BAC. That's how it's written here. If you're willing to do that, we can certainly keep that. The other one is, in December, in 2026, you're gonna meet on Christmas Eve. You're more than welcome to do that, if you want. What we did this year, fourth Thursday would have been Christmas Day, so we moved it to December 11th. So we're gonna move it to December 10th.
That's great.
There's always, this is just our regular schedule. We can always cancel meetings or move them, later on as well.
For the December 19th meeting, could you put a note on there that everyone bring a plate of something? And have a BAC Thanksgiving? Be sweet.
If we do the
Cupcakes
week
were
after
great.
Thanksgiving, everybody could bring leftovers.
A week old things.
Exactly. Moving on to reports, safe routes to school study.
Sure, I'll give a quick update. The area and the northeast schools area, Mount Eldon Middle School to Killip, to Coconino. We're wrapping up some public outreach, so there's a survey online still for like one more week. Go to Metro Plan's website, you can get to it. Take that survey if you're curious, if you know the area or live in that area. Over on Sanawa Knolls, we met with the Sanawa principal yesterday, went over a few options. There's a couple of off-street options we've been exploring. Some of them run into property rights, property issues. So we're also exploring expanding the sidewalk against Butler. On Butler, west of Fourth, we're gonna put in separated bikeways, so there'll be no bike lane on the street, curb, a parkway, one direction bikeway, and then a sidewalk. So 11 feet of concrete, just like on the Beulah University roundabout. That's gonna be on Butler from I-40 to Fort. The talk of extending that to Fox Glen to help with access to those schools along there. So that will be one of the options. We're still in the create a couple options phase of that project. So,
Safe streets.
Safe Streets Master Plan. A couple of updates related to this one. On December 3rd, we had our official kickoff meeting with Kittleson and Associates, the consultant doing the work. Good meeting. Ultimately decided on the first few subtasks to authorize for them to begin their official work and get their sub-consultants on board. This could make, we're kind of getting to a time where this could be an interesting discussion with the BAC, PAC. We can take a look at some of the tasks that they're moving forward with and what the first 2 quarters of next year are gonna look like related to the project. Starting to make decisions about how stakeholders, stakeholder groups that will be formed and how committees and commissions can be leveraged through the process. So I think it could be timely to start discussions internally. Later that day on December 3rd, we went to Transportation Commission and provided the first real presentation about the components of the Safe Streets Master Plan. And Kittleson, the project manager there is Vamshi. He was present and able to introduce himself and talk through the proposed schedule, which is slated for bulk of work over 2 years, and then Kittleson staying on to help with implementation over the 3rd year.
But yeah, so that went to Transportation Commission and was well received.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were excited, man. I want to tell you.
Yeah. That's it. Butler Complete Streets.
Yeah, this one, not a ton of updates from the last few meetings. Phase one work is initiated. It includes environmental and 30% design. That work is underway, on schedule to be completed in February of 2026. And then at that point, we can move forward with initiating the rest of design, which will go on through the bulk of 2026, looking to construction in 27.
Butler Fourth.
Yeah, well, that's basically the one I was just talking about. It's that conversion from, there's gonna be a roundabout at Fourth and Butler and all the way to the underpass. Not a whole lot extra to report, except I think behind the scenes, smoke's coming out of ears and stuff. They're working hard. Ben's on that project.
Yeah, it's my baby right now.
So sure, there's a lot on that side, but we haven't seen it yet. We should get some 30% plans and under I-40 pretty soon, and then they'll tie those into the 30% plans for the rest of the corridor and then bounce to 60, keep going and going.
Micro mobility share.
So you'll remember this topic came with, so we came with a formal presentation on this topic to the PAC a while back. That was ultimately formulating our official staff recommendation to council. We had that council meeting. Council was enthusiastic to move forward with exploring procurement. So, looking to set up a program and bring a vendor in. We've been beginning those conversations with our team and looking to other cities for critical information like annual fees that we can charge to help cover the investment on the city's end as far as taking on the management of a program like this. And starting to think about what a team for an RFP review would look like. Still meeting bi-weekly with our team on this, making and doing research continuously. Probably more updates over the next couple of months.
Road repair and street safety.
That's the name of our maintenance funds essentially for all the roads. And we got through Public Works, and we got the info of what streets they're gonna target this year. And what we can do with some of them is we can restripe them or do little tweaks here and there. I can go through the whole list on this one. It's not crazy long. So on Woodlands, you're gonna do a bunch of crack sealing and then a fog coat. It's a real thin one. You can't even necessarily re-stripe with that because it's too thin. The old stripes will show through. So not much exciting we can do on that street, but that'll feel better for driving. Marketplace over by the mall and the auto dealers is the same treatment. What we are looking at it for a good majority of it, it looks like the lane is wide enough that we could add a buffer to the bike lane. So the travel lane is wide enough. I think we can add a buffer. So we can add striping, as long as you don't have to undo other striping. So if that makes sense, because the old stuff will show through, but we could add an extra line. So most of the other ones, you have to like shift all the lines by 6 inches to get a buffer. But I think on this one, we'll be able to sneak in a foot or 18-inch buffer on the bike lane on there. Keep the other lane as it is. Schweitzer is getting that same treatment all the way up. There's a ton of missing sidewalk all along there. We might open that conversation of trying to fill in those gaps. I don't know if I'm too hopeful that we'll get much out of that, but we'll see. residential ones. That there's not much we can do on it. So, industrial, they're gonna redo the striping, so not even the fog. But it's also another opportunity real similar that we could add a buffer to the bike lane without having to shift all the center lanes necessarily. So I think we can sneak that one in too. It is also missing a ton of sidewalk. So that I think we're gonna ask for that one as well. We'll see if that moves. That part can move forward or not. Linda Vista is getting a full mill and overlay. So now we can shift all the striping around, which we will do, and the general configuration will stay the same, but we'll get a full bike buffer there by shrinking all the lanes just a little bit. So a 2-foot bike buffer on Linda Vista. That should,
Can I pay them off to put some speed bumps in there or? They take a $5.
sure. Reel it in.
What's the process on that? Like who to talk to?
Council is gonna have a presentation on speed humps in January.
Yes. That was supposed to be on the 9th, but it got pushed. So, yeah.
You know what, in January?
6. January 6th. I think that's a Tuesday. I think so.
Insert a speed bump today.
Yep. Still scrolling, Carl?
Oh, no, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, Dodge Avenue, way on the east side, northeast side, out behind the industrial
That
areas.
side.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna get a full replacement, a full depth replacement. And we will for sure, I think for sure get a shoulder / bike lane on there. So this is between the roundabout, just north of the car dealer area marketplace, up to Empire. There's a stretch there where it's just a strip of pavement with 2 lanes, with 1 lane in each direction. So I think for sure we'll get a shoulder for biking. And since this one is such a big undertaking, they're redoing the whole road, I think this might be a better candidate to ask for sidewalks while we're tearing up the whole road. in that one. So we'll ask for that as well. It's the list of the fun stuff in there. Thank you.
Last report, back vacancies and appointments.
Yeah, last week, Transportation Commission appointed Ben to fill Jody's spot on PAC. 2 people were appointed to BAC to fill 1 termed out person and 1 vacancy. So we're full. Matt is termed out, of course, but we don't have any current applications for PAC. We may have to get to send out an email to solicit new applications. You're able to stay on as long as until we find a replacement, suitable replacement.
Yeah. Jody lingered for quite some time before we found a suitable replacement.
We did slow walk Jody's
Yeah,
turned out for her.
she didn't mind too much.
She didn't.
All right. Informational items to and from commissioners and staff, which is basically kind of like open comment period time. It's just the new agenda. And that's the commissioners and staff, but of course, open it up to our guests and our council member, if anybody has anything they would like to share.
At the Transportation Commission, there was a couple of people that represented the PAC there. And I think that was sends a message, kind of like,
Yeah.
so it'd be nice if we have some representation for both the committees at the transportation commissions to really kind of fire us up.
I admit to a little cynicism about scheduling those since they cancel them all the time.
Yeah.
That's like my hardest part to committing to go to transportation commission meetings. Half the time, it's hard to find it. Maybe easier now with the agenda, but it's hard to find if it's actually happening or not, like that day sometimes. But
Along those same lines, is there any way to set up just within the system online that you guys have just relevant reminders for that kind of thing that would ping out? I just feel like I've never had a calendar. I rely on Martin's email saying, hey, will you be here? And then I set a reminder on my phone.
that sounds amazing.
I sent,
No calendar.
we might be able to work with when the emails go out similarly for Transportation Commission, maybe we could just add our two committees
That'd be
to
Yeah,
that
that'd be
email
amazing.
list
Just-
that it gets blasted out
Yeah,
to.
same with that January 6th meeting, like any relevant thing that we talk about or, talk around,
Yeah,
I'd be interested in.
yeah, that sounds good. The Transportation Commission meeting should be pretty straightforward, just adding to the email list. And then going forward, if we think that there will be items of interest to our committees, we can make a note to try and publicize that ahead of it.
It needs to work like a medical office. I need the day of.
That's how my life operates. All right, I'll make one comment. Martin's final pedestrian advisory committee meeting. So thank you very much for your many years of service to the city. And also, it's been a pleasure working with you for 6 years on this and also other stuff in my day job. So thanks very much. And I am very, very envious. I'll just be straightforward. I'm envious. Seems fantastic. And I know you will fill your time. You will not be one looking for things to do.
Can I just say a few words?
Please.
I've been, a short one, I promise. I've been liaison to PAC and BAC since they became official commissions or committees in 2007. And actually attended meetings when they were unofficial committees before that. So at least in an official capacity, if you're keeping score at home, that's over 200 PAC meetings and 200 BAC meetings in that timeframe. So that probably feels like enough. PAC is great. I mean, I think the fact that the city has a pedestrian advisory committee makes us kind of unique. I hope it always continues. The people who sign up for PAC have always been dedicated, energetic, engaged, and really interested in pedestrian issues and walkability from not just the perspective of, we need a sidewalk here or there, but like, how does it fit into the whole city? Like, how does land use, overall transportation fit in? So really kind of a nice global perspective on that. I'm thankful and gratified that Chris and Carlton will take over, keep things going with the help and assistance, of course, from this committee and all of our other community partners. So it's been a great run. I thank you all. Keep it going. I do have one thing to share. Just give me one quick moment to do that. Sorry. Should have queued this up. Here we go. I have no idea who that guy is, but he looks fun.
That's great. Yep, we'll see you there.
We'll send this out formally as well tomorrow sometime.
Is anyone taking your job directly? Like, is that, are you?
They're gonna advertise it for it after the first to fill that vacancy, yeah. In the meantime, like Chris and Carl's, we've kind of divided things up, so they'll keep things going until a replacement is found.
What are you gonna do for the first month?
I got a lot of things kind of lined up. Principally, I'm gonna hike, bike, and get my kayak out a lot more than I am right now. I have a second cup of coffee in the morning and watch the birds out my window. I'm gonna sleep in, all those things.
A good plan. Congratulations. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next meeting, January 22nd. Bike Advisory Committee next week. And we've talked a bunch about the Transportation Commission meeting in February. And with that, I will adjourn today's meeting at 6:13 PM. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations, Martin.
Sorry?
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah.
Hope to see you around.
Yeah, congratulations. I second
That's,
that. Envious.
there's the building projects.
Just like in, like.
Right, all that.
Yeah.
And then staying.
I got an email from Karen. So
If you're thinking about volunteering, think about the Forest Service. Let's just see how things settle out.
That feels ambitious for everything that we're trying to accomplish.
You want to lot trees, we need clear.
Absolutely city.
That's gonna-
Not here as like our team.
Not hurt.
We have a crew volunteer too, so.
It could, we could see it shift in one way. or
Could use
another.
chainsaws if they want to. They find a lot of fun.
Not just bookend.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who log out most of the rally hills.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, with the
Spring, when it gets real busy, I make the fire guys do it.
Could have taken 4 years.
But yeah,
That would
no,
have
every
been a
couple-
schedule
every week they
as
go.
a means of.
Yeah, we have a field map.
More than
every
anything
town.
else. Yeah.
The same-
It's gonna be a lot through the same.
How many are there?
You know,
This
trying to
crew's
stay
about
excited
six.
about the project.
Yeah, no, we have a huge,
So you
I have about 20 full-time, 20 FTEs volunteer work.
Try.
On the district.
Like, what's like, kind of Karen? She's been doing a good years.
Karen does all
2.5
kinds,
years.
like, get a lot of, like, she does a lot of like automation stuff, and she's like the roving rangers, like, it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
interpretive type stuff. Now we got the Winter Landing
You know, we
out
always have
center,
to
and
consult.
she's been working on
Oh, yeah.
the landing trail out by the dump.
Kind of management and efficiency of.
Yeah, there's a whole big
But.
variety of
Well,
stuff.
I don't.
Yeah, you can work on a desk. I don't recommend that, but we do have a volunteer that does that. So we have like 10 RV sites over at my office.
Here.
And so a bunch of folks from the valley, some are up here, they live up here.
Where we need to go.
Yeah, they do various, like we have a sign, like we make all our own signs.
But she used.
All the Forest Service signs, we make them, we have a sign shop.
Vision and stuff.
That,
Sure.
Is that kind of?
I would say so, especially with.
no, she does a lot of the information stuff, yeah.
We're.
And she knows all the
Internally.
Karen is a great mobilizer.
Can we keep up with?
Oh, so, yeah, like her.
Oh, yeah, it's a good
Don't
one.
even get
Email.
picked
Oh, absolutely, spot on for her to immediately, let some fresh meat.
This is how it's.
Uh-huh.
So,
Let me start recruiting.
I get it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident, and I know that this is not their first time around the block, cities, big or small.
Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah, they kind of bring a factor from
Yeah.
our environment.
Exactly.
Might have solutions.
Where we get, you know, it's very easy to feel like you're,
Have a good night, guys.
you know.
Yeah. It's great meeting you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you.
We're talking about, volunteering on my boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sitting by,
Comment from the person.
it was like a guest
Oh, yeah,
office or something like. We started talking about this guy cruising by, was taking trash can.
Yeah.
Or someone went in and do it.
You don't have to do that.
Feedback on the first section.
So, yeah.
How much sidewalking?
Generally, people get paid to go clean toilets,
Section.
except when during the furlough.
Really?
Because toilets with no pay.
No, well, I mean, honestly, no, we haven't. You're talking about a new six.
Glamour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, we haven't, I haven't heard much from the public personally. I'm very excited about it.
Oh, yeah. You
I hear about
it.
it. Yeah.
Like when I'm biking down there.
Yeah, I like, yeah, like, you know,
Every time.
thinking about certain pieces of infrastructure that are just around.
Like that's it. I was hyped and I mean, every day.
System,
Like,
you know, you live in a university town about one of them with its
Yeah.
impeccable separated.
Just like the idea of like,
Yeah.
it's like just.
That's one of those like.
Big and steady.
Yep, absolutely. And you go,
And that's Butler doing
any shopping or any time.